Hi, everyone. Welcome on in to the PWROn Tournament of Pride. It is Sunday. We have some great competitors doing their thing today. Very excited to cast. Alongside me is Heebs and Lauren Whatevs. Again, thank you. Thank you so much, PWROn, for giving us the opportunity to host and cast this. Super excited. I wanted to start with a quick intro to everybody. First, going over your name and preferred pronouns. I will start. I'm Gregor, Gregor2424. Preferred pronouns are they, he. Lauren Whatevs.
Lauren Whatevs is perfect. She, her.
Awesome.
Hey,
And
I'm Teebs. They, them, or she, her.
Beautiful. I just wanted to go over how you got into Marvel Snap and your background with card games. I'll let you guys go first and I can go last. So if Lauren, if you would like to start.
Yeah. I got into Snap in a couple months after global release, Silver Surfer season. I was listening to my brother and me, and the brothers were teasing their dad about being obsessed with Marvel Snap. And I was like, ooh. Like, I'd seen it advertised a few times, but I thought it looked a little too, like, mobile gamey, free to play. Like, I wasn't interested in that aspect of it. I judged it by its cover. But when I heard Clint McElroy was enjoying it, I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And I've been obsessed ever since. My history with card games, I played Magic a little bit as a teen, and Pokemon, I guess, as a child to an adult. It used to be how I connected with my brother, who's 11 years younger than me. We would play in the local scene.
Love that. That's awesome. Teeps.
Nice, yeah. I have been playing card games for a long time as well. I started playing Pokemon and Magic and sort of, casual middle school card games. And then I played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! In high school, and I played a few other games like competitively around that time. Warhammer 40K, which is not exactly a card game, but has a similar skill set. And then I started really taking card games like full-time seriously in Hearthstone. So I played professional Hearthstone for about 2.5 years. And after that, I've kind of been doing other card games. The competitive scene for Hearthstone did some weird stuff there in like 2018-ish. So I played some like auto chess games and TFT and other stuff like that. And then I discovered Snap incidentally on launch day. I saw the ProZD video, and I knew that like Ben Brode left Blizzard and was working on another game, but I somehow, like, despite being very connected to that world, didn't get any details and was very oblivious to Snap until I saw the ProZD YouTube video, and I was like, oh, this game looks cool. Oh, it's a Ben Brode game. Okay, I'm gonna try that out. And I started playing like day zero, first batch of global launch daily quests, and I just have been fully Snap minded ever since. So yeah, I've been casting Snap since some of the original community tournaments in like the first year, and then there's been a little bit of a drought, and now things are picking back up. I'm really happy to see there's a lot more community tournaments running, and the second dinner official, I was casting the Golden Gauntlet earlier this month, a couple weeks ago anyways. And so everything's been kind of really exciting lately, and I'm really excited to see some great games that we have coming up today as well.
Same. I'm super hyped. Thank you both for being here. If you don't follow these two wonderful people, I believe Lauren Whatevs, you were still on the Twitter side. Teebs, I know you were on Blue Sky. Go follow both of them. Teebs, an amazing deck builder. By the way, I played one of your lists recently. I've played a couple of your lists before. Just great deck builder, great caster. And Lauren Whatevs, if you ever need a breakdown of anything math-wise, Lauren does the best like feeds and just like all the math behind it, stuff that's way over my head. Please give both of them a follow. They're wonderful. I'm going to go over my background real quick. So I got into Marvel Snap through Hearthstone. I used to love Hearthstone. I used to do tournaments for, I guess they were technically tavern brawls back in the day, like little community-led events that I would host at the store I used to work at. And then I saw that Ben Brode was working on a new project. and I loved Ben Brode's work within Hearthstone. And when I saw it had to do 3-minute games, I have ADHD, and that's the perfect amount of time for my brain to get the dopamine hit that it needs. It was perfect. I've been playing for like 3 years since. I just absolutely love the community. Before that was Pokemon. Middle school was Yu-Gi-Oh! And then like a little bit of a hiatus there, but then eventually led to Hearthstone, which led to Marvel Snap. And now I'm into Magic the Gathering, and it's gone full circle. It's gone all the way around. But I just love card games. I love the community around the card games, and that it's just for everyone. And that's what this event is about, showing the diversity within the Snap community, and that this is the perfect month for it. Happy Pride Month, y'all. Happy Pride Month, gamers. But super excited to cast with y'all today. I am so freaking hyped. So thank you all for joining me. Perfect. So just so you all know, this entire tournament is going to be benefiting Trans Lifeline. If you're unfamiliar with Trans Lifeline, it is a nonprofit organization providing resources and life-saving support for trans youth and trans people in need. They just do so much. And if you have the means to donate, always, if you have the means, take care of yourself first. Exclamation Pride for the dono link. Thank you all for being here. We should be starting here very, very shortly. We have some really great players today. I'm so excited to see the matches. I specifically said no Arishem and Thanos just from the last Golden Gauntlet event. I wanted to see some new decks, some new brews from the community, and see what y'all came up with. So there's some pretty cool stuff in there. What are you guys looking forward to seeing today?
I think there's going to be some nice variety with this ban being like forcing players' hands. But I will say I do think it's a little funny that the OTA dropped right before. I mean, I know that this was implemented beforehand, but the Thanos Arishem deck that was like terrorizing the meta over the last few weeks got OTA'd out. It's probably not unplayable, but it's definitely a lot worse than it was even just a few days ago. But that does create a ton of room for exciting things to happen. And our first match here, actually, I'm sure production will take us into the deck list in a little minute, but we've got some exciting decks on queue coming right up. This move deck is the one I think that's got my attention. It's not something that I am really find myself playing very often. I'm not really a move enjoyer, but it's a cool deck, makes use of a lot of unusual cards, and I love seeing people, not only playing but excelling with these like underrepresented cards that you kind of see sitting in your collection and think, oh, I might get some boosters for this here or there, but this is not really a card that I'm gonna play on ladder, much less bring to a tournament. And in this case, we have Eggy up first with I would say 3 of those cards in the move deck.
I'm wondering if Eggy specifically put in the Emperor Hulkling because we asked for LGBTQ characters to be highlighted for this. Emperor Hulkling being a gay character, Wiccan being their husbands. So I wonder if that's not normally in and they threw that in just for this event.
I think
Certainly could
Hulkling
be.
can also be good in an open decklist tournament because he adds that like information disadvantage that
The RNG factor too.
Is.
Exactly. Yeah, I like Hulkling because if you have 2 big drops, you have one consistent drop, and then you have one that's just RNG factor that could win you the game just through the RNG. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Hulkling's been having a little bit of a moment lately, I would say. There's been, I don't know that I would say like top meta decks, but we had Hulkling showing up in the Golden Gauntlet 1 era in a few things. I think it was the Pixie Mobius deck about a month and a half ago that was making some waves. And I feel like that was one of those moments where like this card has maybe been fairly playable all along, but it takes somebody getting good results with it to push other players to say, hold on, let's take a look at this and see, like, maybe we've all been overlooking something. And I think that very well may be the case with Hulkling. But additionally, I think it's like you said, in an open deck list, there is, an angle to get information advantage if you know something your opponent doesn't, that's very, very powerful. And normally in Snap, you kind of always have that in like a ladder environment. And in a closed deck list format, that's sort of a resource you're playing with. But in open deck lists, you really have to work to maintain that information advantage. So,
Yep. So it looks like we're going into our first matches right now. So stay tuned, y'all. I'm very excited to see what happens here. So it looks like we are Poke King against SR Ross. Is it SR Ross? Hold on. I'm gonna
SR
full
SR
screen.
Boss.
SR Boss. Okay. All right. I see the Sarah, the Pride Sarah. Let's go.
you love to see it. SR Boss on a sort of Mercury Cannonball good stuff tech cards list, playing, the sort of, I would say almost a surfer shell, but they cut some 3-drops and the surfer and is playing the usual tech cards in support of that. So we've got a Juggernaut, a Negasonic, a Copycat, and a Gladiator, as well as Galacta and Gwenpool. But then instead of playing like Brood Surfer, you've got the Mercury Cannonball package, as well as Fenris, and then Zabu Surge and Shang-Chi to sort of bring everything together. And it's one of those mid-rangey tech piles. I really like playing this kind of deck. This is definitely something I would play. Very, very flexible archetype that can really handle its own in a good share of matchups.
And the tempo
Yeah,
Negasonic is always. Sorry, Lauren, go ahead.
It's the sort of thing that does well in a tournament format, right? With the battle, you have to have lots of different matchups, and also you have to last for 10 HP. Yeah, I think the tech pile is definitely that's the sort of thing you want to take into Infinity Conquest,
100%. You want to have answers for almost anything. I wanted to ask y'all how you feel about Merlin recently, just in the last season pass.
I like Merlin a lot, actually. I haven't played a ton of Merlin in sort of regular Snap games. I've been I've been playing a lot of the limited time modes with Overdrive and now with Sanctum. I am playing Merlin in Sanctum, but it's a little hard to sort of answer earnestly how I feel about a card when most of my gameplay time with that card is in sort of not exactly Snap. But Merlin plus Werewolf by Night, very, very, very powerful thing to be doing. And it's good. They're good skills.
Yeah, he's my favorite implementation of skill so far. Just a cheap one you get every turn, I think is more interesting than stuffing up your deck. But also I like playing small cards more, so definitely
Same.
more my type. And then Agamotto.
I love small stuff decks. Like 1 through 3 is kind of my comfort zone for cards, just because it's such a good,
Sure.
just a good curve for playing. But I love him. I love that he basically gives you the effect that Kitty does, is that you could stop blockers with him if you fill a lane, and then it auto banishes. And then it also just gives you so much maneuverability. Your opponent, again, the RNG factor that you get with the spells, especially within like a tournament setting, can be so beneficial.
Well, here we go. We're about to roll a big 8-cuber and have a polymorph potentially coming down on Killmonger here. Poke King looking to set up something with this huge Sarah turn. Massively reduced card costs in hand, debating whether to play for Tarnax at all. But I like this
Could be a
polymorph
bet.
here. Upgrading Sarah into a 6-drop looks exceptional.
Again, this is what I'm talking about. Like that last, the RNG factor can win you games right there. And hopefully it's not a destroyer here. That's my RNG, but Spectrum, good hit.
No hits, though.
It's still
We're
7
going to take
power.
out the Copycat.
Could be
So
big enough.
mid is a
How big is
win.
this Pit Monkey?
It's pretty large.
It's big
It's
enough.
enough.
That'll do it.
Oh, what a swing.
So Cannonball not enough, and we saw that turn 5 Enchantress taking out Mercury, and that proved to be a game-winning move. I think the Cannonball mid would have been devastating to Polka King, but instead takes out that Mercury ongoing, and Cannonball is forced to play in the right lane instead and try to win the sort of fair snap old-fashioned way.
I mean, that's a great lead for Polka King. 8
yeah.
cubes right this early on.
8-2. It's doable, but it's very hard to come back from that.
Yep.
Very comfy position to be in.
Yep.
Polka King electing not to play Shadow King on curve here, which makes a lot of sense with the Sarah. I think some decks, if you don't necessarily know if you're going to have a chance to play that later, you might dump down the 2 points. But with Sarah and it costing 1 on turn 6, I think you can pretty well always find a home for it.
And I always find myself conflicted whether I play Surge on 2 or Merlin on 2.
Polka King leaning Merlin, but ultimately dipping out to SR Boss's Snap here. And I think part of this is probably just not playing a card on 2, playing Merlin off curve with a 6-card hand. You're burning your top deck next turn on turn 4 with the generated spell taking the last slot in your hand. So Polka King smartly dipping out here and giving SR Boss a 1 cube. Has another round, so this is not necessarily going to cost anything if this next round goes for 1 cube as well. So the stakes doubling after this game.
Turn 1 Surge, I'd snap on that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, yeah, Surge or Merlin, those are your bread and butter within the 2-drop. But smart snaps, smart retreats, that's what this is all about, especially in competitive setting.
Turn 2 Copycat Merlin. Pretty good. Attilan gonna be interesting here. I don't think that either of these players are too happy to see this in this moment, although I have to imagine the Merlin is a little bit more beneficial. SR Boss with the turn 3 Galacta as well turns off the Attilan, so we're not going to see the hands refresh. If Elysium wasn't enough, let's get down a turn 4 Sarah. Thankfully dodging the Negasonic, that could have been disastrous for Polka King here. And how do y'all think you handle this Negasonic? I mean, there's a Fenris, obviously, but you want to commit points to that lane at some point, I would imagine.
I think I'd sack the Invis. Yeah, literally that.
Let's do it now.
Yep. Get it out of the
So
way.
cheap and small. Yep.
SR Boss firing off a buffed Gladiator. This is going to kill everything in Polka King's deck, I believe.
And as far as I can tell, is only there to queue up a Hitmonkey early. So when you already have the Sarah discount up, yeah, I don't even think Invis is doing much for you.
Very smart to put the Gladiator in sewer system. That way you avoid the Shang.
Yep, I like that a lot. Get down to 9. We know the Sarah deck is playing pretty much every tech card that you can fit. Okay, so Hitmonkey after Shadow King. We're going to take 2 points off the Gladiator and the Negasonic, actually. But only adding 10 mid.
I like chasing right better. I think that's a good call.
Looking to stack points right instead. Oh, back to mid. Heads up read from Polka King, but the Juggernaut is going to say it goes back anyways. Polymorph takes a Jubilee. which doesn't have space until afterwards, but I don't think we're quite enough on sewer system. It's a tie. But Poker King getting there on breakers
13?
by 1.
Wow.
So that's going to be it. SR Boss. Wow. Incredibly close match.
Yeah, what a way to go out.
Great early start, though. I'm really liking Polka King's deck so far.
Yeah. Agree. I was wishing we would get to see a little bit more out of SR Boss's list, because I think that one has a lot of cool stuff as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're neither player finding a lot of like really solid tech hits in the mid game, I think the Sarah just gives you such an advantage in that matchup. It's really tough to overcome that.
Yeah. Especially, I'm actually surprised they weren't able to do more with all the tech options. Wait, no, I'm confusing the list right now. I'm getting them mixed up. Yes.
Looks like we're going into the Eggy versus Denman matchup now. After, I think, a 1-cube retreat game 1, Denman bowing out in that first cube. So Eggy's up 10-9. And this is the move deck we were talking about earlier. Seeing a pretty standard looking hand so far. But promise you, there are quite a few cards that will make you wonder. There's one of them now.
This is the deck I was really excited to see.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing Fan Fei does is you can activate her and play Heimdall both on the same turn, which
Right.
is a ton of power for something like one of your move scalers. Plus, just hard to play around.
All right, so Eggy opting to pull mid and get Otto's Lab proc out of the way early, getting a Hawkeye down for Denman, as well as Denman playing a turn 2 Surge. So this hand has got to be pretty full. Hopefully the Surge cost reduction is going to help make some space, but 2 arrows and a Hood Demon. Plus, oh, and look at that. Blessing and a Curse. It's a big card to pull at this point, but at the same time, Heimdall only getting to move Dagger once onto a single card lane, so... Nagy looks like willing to play Fan Fei in the right lane, not going to get any value out of that other than contesting Monster Metro with a fairly large card. We do have a Emperor Hulkling in this deck as well. However, it is not in Eggy's hand, so I understand the desire to just take Monster Metro with the largest card you have at the moment.
Yeah, the Cosmo's going to keep you safe.
Yep. And especially with that Cosmo not going to be very generous to Werewolf by Night moving around and getting over there. Of course, you still can move Werewolf into the Cosmo, but you're sacrificing your on-reveal abilities to do so. And it looks like maybe Eggy is going to pull a little bamboozle here with this Fan Fei, moving over with Madam Web on turn 6 to juke the Camelot cost. I really like this play.
Yeah, it's super cool. You could Fan Fei from the left or from mid, either way.
They also have the option to move the Cosmo last turn.
Which is always super strong.
Yep.
Okay, so right full at the time Sentry pops up, on reveal, not creating any voids, but Werewolf making space afterwards. Really, really cute. Okay, so we'll have to see. We have a floating Iron Fist. Eggy has set up one of those turns that we were talking about earlier, not being move players. I think you have the option to move Fan Fei left and then use the Iron Fist. Interesting. Yeah, the Iron Fist can hit the Vulture. And then the Aranya will also hit the Vulture. So you have quite a
Two moves.
few options. Yeah. And it looks like Eggy is going to play this to put Heimdall over onto Monster Metro, which I think will win that
Yeah,
convincingly.
that's 3 more power.
Yes.
And then a double move Vulture going to end in mid. And yeah, Denton just looking at this board state saying, you got everything you could want.
Nope.
Again, watching a good move player is just like, it's like watching, I don't know, like someone do rocket science or something. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's up there, I would say, probably with Bounce as the more complicated archetypes in Snap, and against a lot of decks, the level of complexity that you get with Move and Bounce, or especially Move Bounce, are unrivaled and orders of magnitude more difficult to play than a lot of these other decks. So impressive to see somebody making such a solid run with an archetype that is just, it's that old adage of like, I bring aggro to tournaments so that I don't get fatigued over the course of a long day. And it's like some people will bring very, very complicated decks that take a lot of thought every round and still do well over a long day. Yeah, it's
that's
incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
All right, so Denman here playing Merlin into Kiln early. Going to set up, and I wonder if either of these players are going to. Well, I guess it would be Denman who is looking to turn off Kiln, because as a move player, Eggy probably doesn't mind having a closed off location at all, because you can always put exactly how many points you need. Although with 2 of them, things change a little bit. We do have Madam Web though.
Yeah. If I'm Denman, I'm retreating unless I have Omniversal Presence, which might.
That's the great thing about Merlin. You never know. Okay, so they're setting up the Hellions so they can do the move, and then they're going to probably Madam Web and do more moves.
Yeah, so Hellion on 4, this Tinker's Workshop actually very interesting. Hellion gives the opportunity to move Dagger once and still set up a decent turn with the Madam Web next turn. I think the problem is if Denman plays strong enough in mid, then Heimdall might become a liability. But at the same time, by playing enough cards in mid, Dagger is just going to gain so many stats that I don't think it's going to matter.
Dagger's
Dagger can take that.
Dagger's +3, right?
I think she's +2 right now. Didn't they change her?
That's what I can't remember. Is it +3 or +2?
I think they changed her.
We're about to find out.
I think she was 2-0 +3.
Yeah.
And now she's 2-2 +2. But
Secondary doesn't like +3 cards. Yeah. Galacta being
Either way, this Dagger is going to gain more than 2 total points and crush mid lane.
Yes.
I'm surprised Denman stayed in without Omniversal Presence.
And then we're probably going to see an Aranya here and a Dagger move, although it looks like Eggy is trying to crunch the numbers on whether or not getting this Cosmo out of here is going to be necessary. But I think if that's the case, you can always do it next turn.
Oh, Denman has Legion. That could also be why.
Legion
on Tinker's Workshop.
Yeah, I think all signs point to holding your Cosmo here.
Yep.
And I mean, now at this point, Denman just can't play next turn, right? There's no Jeff.
Completely clogged.
And mid's already secure, and even just moving Cosmo over left and not playing any cards is going to be enough here. So Eggy, it turns out, double kiln with the move player is pretty good. And
Go
these
figure.
unsung heroes of Hellion and Fanfei, I guess to this extent, it's Madam Web doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, but that Hellion really showing up. I gotta say, of the new sort of, we've seen this strategy of like, here's a season with a bunch of discard cards or a bunch of move cards, and like a lot of them are kind of questionable as to how good they are in the sort of mainline decks. Hellion is one of those cards that I think is a lot better than people have been giving credit for.
Yeah, just a one-sided cloak with a solid stat line is very, very good.
I also think both Hellion and Fanfei are like, they're good just as threats. Like, am I gonna move my cards? Maybe I won't.
I love good
Yeah,
bluff
it's
cards.
that information advantage you were talking about earlier, where you have all the power in that exchange. Is your opponent willing to beat both of those options, or a coin flip on whichever one they read you as more likely to do? Or do they just want to retreat? And sometimes setting those situations up, even if your hand is kind of dead and your play is not that strong, can put you in a seemingly very powerful position and cause some retreats.
Yeah, just the bluff. You can win off bluffs.
Mm-hmm. So Eggy here is setting up a nice dagger, although moving everything into Yggdrasil is perhaps we're going to miss a few buffs here. But that's okay.
It's an aggressive snap. Hulkling's Infinite.
Oof. You hate to see it. Looks
Love
like
that.
Eggy getting out for one. Heads up retreat here. Ooh. Now this is one of those starts with Connor Taj as well. This is one of those starts that move players dream of. Aranya, Human Torch.
Is that the Nico double spell?
Yes, both players firing on all cylinders this game. Oh my
Mockingbird.
goodness.
With the Nor dimension out, you could actually discount her. I guess discount him.
Nor Dimension Kamertage, so oh yeah, and there's that Nico double up, and it's the doubling power. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Nico doubling power on Kamertage, just a quick 8, and potentially some Merlin skills as well. Could see like a Nor Dimension plus polymorph on Kamertage next turn. Huge.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm surprised Cosmos not going on Kamertage. But I
Yeah,
guess
like
they do have
the only
Prio.
card.
Yeah.
Or I guess Heimdall maybe, but
They do have the Prio here, so if they do the polymorph, they're going to do it this turn.
Yeah. An interesting Eggy not playing the Jin this turn. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's a retreat, I think.
Yuck.
Sometimes
Let's
RNG
make
just
8 points and protect it and give it to Deadman.
sometimes RNG just says no. It's just
Yep.
nah.
Yeah, this match isn't for you.
You got to retreat on this, right?
Yep.
As soon as there's a snap, yeah.
All right, and that is a narrow lead now.
Yeah.
Eggy up 7-6.
And Denman Falcon has won previous Brookland tournaments. So I'm excited to see how this ends up going.
Yeah, I believe a longtime TCG player. It's a name I'm pretty sure I recognize from Hearthstone as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Got that turn 2 dagger again. This is a solid looking opener. Joined by the Madam Web. So yeah, this is I don't know if Denman's going to continue playing into Clubhouse or not, but there's a lot of stats coming out, and if it's in Clubhouse, they're now. If it's not Clubhouse, they're going to be later for Madam Web. So
They're already setting up the combo.
Looking good here, yeah.
Yeah, really strong. Plus Hulkling's a lion.
Oh, and Denman with the copy of Werewolf by Night. Gonna be bouncing everywhere.
Sometimes that's a bad thing to have multiple werewolves.
Yeah, the clog factor.
All right, setting up a rather large vulture already.
Ooh, the Enchantress value.
It's gonna be stuck there.
Well, no, we still got Hellion. Hellion gets one last
true.
move. I like that Werewolf has been getting a chance to shine more recently. Because it's a very fun card.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think it's the clog issue that y'all were talking about with 2 werewolves is extra pronounced, but even just with 1, it can be tough. And I think Merlin, with the skill synergy, being able to move to a location with only 1 space has really made a big difference there for Werewolf by Night.
Or with 2 spaces, but to leave a space behind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The new banish mechanic is kind of great for that. It's like Kitty Pride, but it's a skill that just disappears,
Yeah. Or you take the raft without filling it. Like, yeah.
Yep.
Super useful sometimes. It's gonna end up being a huge Hellion.
I think they just moved the vulture mid. Maybe keep the dagger. I don't think you would want to move both.
If you draw Heimdall, no, never mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say Heimdall might change that, but
because then you could clog the left, and then you have 1 of each. Yeah.
Maybe vulture mid, Hulkling left. Or vulture symbiote mid.
That's an interesting spot. I could also see moving all of left to mid and playing Hulkling right alongside the symbiote.
I like the flip up here. Now the question is, do they move dagger or do they move vulture?
Hulkling can't solo right if that's where the wolves end up.
True, but potentially you're winning mid, and I think that's what that symbiote move was. And yeah, here's that classic Denman just feeling the pressure of all of these decisions. Interestingly, though, Werewolf gives a lot of flexibility as well on the other side of the table. It's just knowing that Vulture Dagger move combo is just going to win convincingly, whichever lane they end up in.
It's fun seeing this high-level play. We've seen both players now retreat on their own snaps.
Yeah.
The mind game element.
You have to do that sometimes. Sometimes the game just shifts to not be in your favor anymore.
Yep. It's one of the things I love and hate about Snap.
You never know when that turn 3 Oscorp is going to eat your whole board.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Or you get my RNG and you just get Destroyer consistently, and your board state turns to garbage.
I had a game recently where I played a 4-drop on Convertage, and then I double polymorphed it. And so I knew the outcome would be death at the end. It's the only 8-drop. But I just had to hope I didn't hit any horrendously bad on-field RNG on the way up with so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Right, stops by Hobgoblin and then they get the death.
Or MODOK.
These are the gambles we take. Destroyer. There's lots.
Maybe it would stop at 6 if it switched to their side. Anyway.
All right, so once again, we see that quick snap retreat, and Eggy maintaining that 1 cube lead up 5-4 over Denman here, as this proves to be a real grindy set. We're in round 8 already, and we have just over half of the cubes down, although with high stakes, this is going to accelerate rather quickly as soon as a player finds a favorable position.
And they've been both very good with their retreats here.
Ooh. Attilan coming down, but Eggy managing to spend almost the entire hand already with the Iron Fist Human Torch into Ghost Spider Madam Web. Trying to decide where to end this up. This Human Torch is going to go to 8 now and 16 next turn.
Ending up with an extra draw from Attilan.
And they still have the Heimdall, Orania, and Fanfei. And the Hulkling comes back. They basically just got their hand back +1,
Yep. Helicarrier.
Attilan, draw 1. Your opponent discards a couple.
Yeah.
That'd be a good card. All right, so interestingly enough, we have the Shang-Chi from Denman that we're going to have to potentially consider from Eggy's POV and deciding when and how to move this Human Torch. But this is, like you were saying earlier, the Fanfei gives you that level of will they, won't they make the move? Where is the card going to end up? Whereas otherwise, just Madam Web, it's like, do you want the points or do you want the Shang-Chi exposure or do you want the safety? And Fanfei, potentially, you can have both.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Bar Sinister on the left. Very interesting.
I'm just entranced right now just by what are they doing,
Yeah, the Bar Sinister changed everything.
Right. How are they going to play this out?
I think it's better for Denman because move doesn't want to clog itself.
Correct.
But it could be an argument for using Hulkling. Hulkling outpowers everything in Denman's deck.
Yep. But again, it'll come down to, the Shang-Chi.
The Shang is a scary threat, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, Denman committing to... Oh, he's got the Annihilus.
It's a very interesting choice.
Although I think the goal here is just a handful of demons.
Yeah, so he's basically committing to the other 2 lanes at this point. Ooh, okay.
These universal presences have been wild.
So RNG just says, no, we're going to play something there. And it's going to be a Heimdall of all things. Absolutely wild. Okay, well.
Human Torch and Heimdall both totally vulnerable.
Yep. Wow,
and
RNG
right lane
just
is devastating.
Absolutely went off there.
I'm out of here if I'm Maggie. That's bad.
Wild stuff.
Can't compete with 25 on the right.
And then mid is just so vulnerable to Shang here. If Shang comes down,
I'm not taking that gamble.
but if that happens, Werewolf proc and he ends up going mid.
Denman retreated. Didn't have the
Same.
Shang.
Incredible.
Yeah. You could have bluffed with the Shang, to be honest.
I would have.
Was that a retreat now as well?
I don't know if that was a
I don't know
retreat
that
now.
Eggy locked that turn in.
No, he did not.
That Hulkling was just kind of being flicked onto the board actively.
You could have. I think Denman could have bluffed the Shang there.
Oh, for sure. At least a retreat later maybe pushes.
Yeah, that was a classic retreat layer scenario. I mean, maybe you always should, but that one is like actually both players might run here.
Yeah, 100%.
Because Iggy's had no way of moving those, and there were 3 that were above 10 power in that lane.
Yeah, it's like you're saying the lane being full is a huge detriment to move decks.
Another Infinite for Hulkling.
All right, so Eggy gonna go ahead and play this Hood. And I mean, you don't hate to see it on mid, but as a move player, you probably don't want extra cards on the board. Though I will say Eggy has a lot more options than I would say the average move deck to kind of work around a little bit of junk. You know, an extra card or two,
Yep.
you can manage that.
Especially with the Fanfey, Hellion, and Ghost Spider in hand. A lot of wriggle room.
Nexus
All the
is
tools.
huge. Like, it's going to come down to throwing Prio, maybe? Eggy could put tons of power there, as long as, you know, they feel comfortable dodging Shang.
Yeah. Going to be a question of potentially dodging Prio, although if you do that, your Human Torch potentially getting sniped before moving if you're pulling it with like a Ghost Spider, or it moves before flip up if it's with like a Hellion, or it's interesting.
I wonder if they're setting up Heimdall into Fanfey. It would be a 32 power torch.
Yeah, although this may be Acid Arrow.
I think the Heimdall Fanfey is a winning play.
Okay, so what does Denman have against this?
Shang is the best thing to do, as long as he retains second Prio. Right? Oh, committing.
Nihilisting the Hood out.
Annihilus, yeah. I'm surprised.
Second Hood going over.
For Prio, though.
Yeah, and now
I think that just cost him the game, I think.
gonna get that Acid Arrow out as well. Heimdall, and then Fanfey it back. Yeah. And I don't think
And
there's an
Deadman
out.
has Prio, so you can't stop it.
And no Merlin here. So no omniversal presence to save.
Now we do have a Legion.
Legion.
Left is looking like 2 points. So that's actually a tie on left. If we see a Legion mid, and no, it's not.
No Legion. Here it comes. Gigantic 32 power torch.
And that Heimdall Fanfei is going to run away with this and overcome the huge deficit on left lane.
Wild. Wild.
Eggy remains undefeated.
The high-level
Incredible.
gameplay move from Aggie is just so impressive to me.
Yeah, the lines available with that deck, with the moves on the last turn, and even the post Heimdall moves. What other move decks get to move after Heimdall?
Right.
Absolutely wild.
Showing off that Fanfei value.
And honestly, I
Mhm.
don't see a lot of these cards run in traditional move. So it's really interesting to see a high-level move deck that doesn't run your average, what you would normally see in a move list.
Yeah, it's very skill intensive. You sort of have to plan 2-3 turns ahead because not only does it matter where you end up with things for your Heimdall, but you also need to make sure you have the correct amount of space in the right places for your other cards. Because Fanfei especially is one of those things where you need to make exactly the right amount of room in multiple lanes and sequence your activations. So really, really cool. But I gotta say, I like having some sort of contesting bodies that aren't your move cards. I think the Fanfei and the Hellion stats are really solid in a deck that otherwise is very vulnerable to tech cards like Shadow King and Shang-Chi. To have some just, respectable mid-range 4 and 5 drops is a nice thing, as well as, of course, their abilities are just incredible. But super,
Yeah.
super solid play from Eggy, and moves on to maintain an undefeated record after the top 8 match.
Yeah. So it seems that Aggie and Poka King are moving on to the next round. We're going to be taking a break here shortly, but I am excited to see if Aggie can keep that that winning streak going. No losses throughout this entire tournament. Wow.
Would be pretty cool to see from that deck.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Up next, we have Heavens versus Whitney Joe. This one looks very, very interesting. What do y'all think?
I'm so excited. The move deck is definitely one that I was keeping an eye on, but Whitney Joe's is the one I'm most excited for. It's rocking Cersei and Quake, which are two of my favorite cards in the game.
Interesting take on the Pixie Mobius archetype from Winnie Joe, with that Emperor Hulkling inclusion as well, which we were excited about in the move deck. But this is, I would say, Hulkling's sort of conventional, if you can call it that. First showing was in Pixie Mobius back in GG1. So I'm excited to see that one as well. I like the one-drop inclusions here. That's kind of a staple of these Pixie Mobius decks. It's like, which one-drops are you including? Because you need some to snapshot a high-roll Pixie. And Winnie Joe opting for Electra Iceman, which I think is really, really cool.
Just the
There's
Electra inclusion is so interesting to me.
Yeah, she's been having a little bit of a moment lately, and you love to see it because it's a super cool card. And then
Not useful in this matchup, though.
That's true. That's true. Over on Tevin's side, we have no one drops to kill. It is a Sarah deck. We do have the Surfer this time, and this is, I would say, one of my favorites in the top 8.
It looks like we're ready to go here, so we'll be switching over in just a second.
And so this is the second half of the top 8 bracket. These players also competing to move on to top 4 and join our previous round winners.
I also like Tevin's list. I just am a fan of Surfer lists in general.
Yeah, I'm a Surfer enjoyer myself for sure, and I love seeing this. Captain Carter has done a lot for Surfer. At the same time, I feel like Surfer hasn't been making a lot of showings just based on the overall meta. And so here we have, wow, this is a big turn.
Yeah, Utopia and Sarah letting Tevins dump the hand before Mindscape.
Yeah, although interestingly, gonna take almost all of the board space to do so. I like what we have going here. Looks like Tevins is gonna dump Brood onto nowhere just to make sure there's still space to play and get some of whatever Whitney Joe is sending over onto the board.
Ooh, Electro.
Well, it
That is
doesn't matter.
rough.
He's only going to have one card.
That's the RNG there.
All right, so Whitney Joe top decking. And looks like, okay, Tevin's throwing the Cersei over left. Not quite as impactful as filling up Mindscape.
Do you like the Whitney Joe's inclusion of Quake? I feel like Quake is a very slept-on 2-drop, so love that.
Big agree.
All right, and the Surfer pickup here, I think, is everything because this is going to completely take over the lanes this game. And I don't know that Whitney Joe has a top deck that can do it.
That Electro was brutal.
Well, because of Mindscape, though, Tevin's had an empty hand, so it didn't send anything over.
Yep.
Right, so Whitney Joe just has the one card anyways.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't think there's any possible plays here, even with an Emperor Hulkling with, your choice of 6-drop.
Ramping out Sarah did so much this game.
I love Luna Snow
Yeah.
for that. If you can get the Luna Snow into Sarah, it's just so nice.
Yeah, definitely one of the best uses for that Luna ramp. Make sure you get a bigger payoff than your opponent.
Just a 1-cube victory there for Tevins. I wonder if there was a potential to get a snap in at some point, but taking a lead in the set nonetheless.
Oh,
and
beautiful
Astro
Electro.
playing one of our newest cards, pulling down his 6-0 Hulkling, which is actually Living Tribunal. And suddenly, with it this early especially, Tevins really has the option to pick which lanes to commit to. And there's a snap.
Looks like snap from Tevins.
Yeah, Tevin's definitely getting the better of this copied cards here with the turn 0 Surge.
Double Surge is also great.
Yeah, it's okay that one of them's wasted on Surfer.
Yeah, that Surfer probably not coming down till at least turn 5, maybe turn 6, but at least Tevins has a second Surge to play here. Although board space going to start to become a bit of a concern with this extra rock and the 0-0 Surge already on the board. There's
the
Mobius. So Surge is just for power now. Oh.
Mobius can be kind of brutal to Surfer.
Yeah, one that's running Sarah and Surge.
Yeah, you rely on a lot of the cost reduction for that last turn.
Have to wonder if there's a argument here to save Absorbing Man for Surfer
versus the Brood.
Yeah, it's a little tough though because you'd have to play like Search Forge this turn. You'd almost have to just Brood this turn if you want to do that.
If Luna shows up, we could do both Surfer and Abs, man. That's the only hope. Not today.
Tevin's opting to go Mobius instead, which not sure what we're reducing with this.
The opponent has Surge.
I think it's also they also have the Pixie, but they haven't done the Pixie yet. So
Right.
Yeah. I think I like Vibranium Surfer here, but opting to float the Forge.
I like Absman copying Brood.
It's just because of the Tribunal, I don't know that we need another Brood lane.
That's fair.
I think we can win left
That's
and
a good
mid, but
maybe you switch to left and right, though. The Absman one's so much bigger.
yeah. I do think that White Tiger into Cersei is probably the strongest thing we could see from Winnie Joe here.
the Wong
Right,
White
so
Tiger
there's-
combo bringing me back to early days of Snap.
Cersei puts a whole new
Absolutely.
twist on it.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think Luna Snow Surfers is pretty safe bet here.
You think it's strong enough to win mid?
No, over
I
on
guess-
right lane.
Mhm.
Oh,
It's already full. But all the lanes are going up simultaneously, right? Because we have that Tribunal.
yeah.
So
Isn't
I guess
Luna
maybe we
mid
do go
stronger?
left. Yeah. Yeah, Luna mid is stronger, you're right. Here's the Cersei.
Yeah, this will matter a lot.
Hits Sarah. Hits Doom.
Ooh.
Gets an extra 5.
And a Hela.
It's a good
And an
amount of power.
Arishem. Yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been enough with Luna Snow mid. 22.
Yep.
But instead,
Yeah.
playing for right lane. And maybe forgetting about the Living Tribunal.
Yeah.
Very easy over the course of the game when it's attached to a 0/0 Emperor Hulkling.
It drops turn 1.
And yeah, we saw that over the course of the game, pivoting the lane.
We know who Copycat hit?
I didn't catch it.
Haven't seen, yeah.
Going for the on curve points.
You do love a turn 2 surge.
Goodbye, Copycat.
Ooh,
Guess it doesn't
Never
matter.
know.
Yeah.
Wong seems like a bigger hit, bigger loss. Evan's going to be able to ramp out Sarah again.
Interestingly, I don't know how much extra work this early Sarah is going to be doing this game just with the board space constraints of the Raptor. That said, I mean, Gwenpool here on this hand,
Yep.
pretty exceptional. And it's looking like Tevin's maybe opting to keep the Ice Cube so he can play... Oh, with the 6 energy, just going to go Gwenpool Absman this turn. Makes a lot of
We're going to
sense.
see some giant broods.
Maybe
the
too big,
bugs-
though?
Make
Yeah.
the bugs as big as possible.
Although that said, I mean, we're really only buffing Luna Snow if we're keeping this around this turn. But yeah, I do think Gwenpool left, Absman mid is super, super reasonable.
And they're just deciding where they want to put that power. Do they want to put Gwenpool mid? Do they want to put 1 point of power can make the difference, you know?
Gore.
And it's a Hulkling Gore. Okay, so good thing that Tevins didn't commit to mid.
Yep. Ooh.
Oh, and a Juggernaut. No Prio, though. Still rather large.
That's still good if they don't fill all lanes.
Very good.
So the Broodlings themselves, they're putting down the 24 and then Surfer on top.
Before Surfer, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely Juggernaut left just on points alone, even if you aren't looking. Although that Surfer is so buff that maybe it's just Surfer left.
Yep.
It's a hard decision because if they don't,
Oh.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't know how I feel about this one. I'm not sure there's any cards that are going to make the difference here on points against Brood, and since you have Prio, probably fine. We're not looking at any Cosmos, are we?
No.
I don't believe so. I think the play is either Brood right, and then it's either Jug left or Surfer left.
I think you could just hold the Jug. Let them play mid.
All right, so Shang-Chi with Prio, that would have been hugely impactful if Whitney Joe was flipping up second here. And yeah, there's no stopping this Brood.
That was the right decision, it looks like. Just the raw stats on the Surfer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
right, the Surfer is larger than the buff target, but here we are.
One of the things I love about Gwenpool, though, is just you never know. Like, you know how many cards they have in hand, so you have an idea, but you don't know what it is that they're buffing. Just that.
Or how it's distributed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although double Gwenpool that's scary. You have 100%. To be feeling pretty good about your hand to stay in against double Gwenpool.
I think maybe from Whitney Joe's side, it's like which two cards got double Gwenpool, and Tevins flipped up with the nightmare scenario of Brood Surfer.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, I think we're looking at 6-5. Luke's bar is good for Tevins.
Do you risk the surge here? You definitely risk this Pixie here.
Yeah, I like playing on Danger Room early, but I don't know if I would do it with Surge, who needs to stay alive.
Oh, wow. Going to 8, and this is a Sarah Brood if I've ever seen one.
Yep.
What's interesting to me is they're both running Mobius in their lists, so no one gets the cost reduction.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument here for getting the Mobius down before any of the Pixie cards can see play, because you have all the time in the world to play this Brood later.
Yep.
They opt for Carter instead, it looks like.
I don't hate this. I mean, I see the desire to get Carter down in the front row and also to not risk either of these key cards to Danger Room. But at that point, we do have...
Is this a Galactus Hulkling? No, nothing that cool.
Oh my goodness.
The White Tiger on Luke Barr can be nasty.
Tiger for days.
Free bounces.
Spending a lot for that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Still holding the Mobius. Okay, there we go. Finally, it's time. And Whitney Joe has no Enchantress, at least not naturally occurring. And Tevins doesn't have an Enchantress to copycat. So this is normally pretty risky to stack this many essential ongoings in one lane, but looks like we're going to be okay here. Devin's going to fire off a Gwenpool here. I like this, though this Mobius is going to hurt a lot. Early commitment to Sarah, and we haven't really seen a lot of, buff cards, synergistic cards. As Gwenpool hits are going to enable 2 of these cards to come down, potentially doing some good stuff here. And oh my goodness.
Yeah, Gwenpool's down. Luke's bar is lost.
And
Well, we could still see Brood.
Yeah, another Brood wins. But Jug is too risky. Send something else to Luke's bar.
Y'all, quick reminder that this fundraiser, this tournament is a fundraiser for Trans Lifeline. We're trying to help the queer community, and Trans Lifeline does that every single day, saving trans lives, saving people in crisis. If you have the means to donate, !Pride will get you the link. Thank you all for being here and supporting the Snap and queer community.
Yeah, thank you.
Kevin's going to fire off the Brood mid, which I think I like this line. My only concern here is that Whitney Joe with that White Tiger, this looks like a prime transform on Project Pegasus with Cersei, and I don't know that committing the Luna Snow points on right is going to be enough to win. You end up taking it to Breakers on Danger Room, and I don't know that taking it to Breakers is a winning line either.
Yeah, and without the Surfer.
And it's just a Hulkling. But I think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, Luna's only at 9.
5 difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So Winnie Joe going to take 4 cubes off of Tevins here. I don't know that risking it on Danger Room is safe necessarily, but I think it is the play here. But not over. Tevin still has 2 cubes to go.
Yep.
Hurt losing that Gwenpool.
Yes, absolutely.
I've seen comebacks from 2 from like a full, 10 cubes. So anything could happen.
Yeah, the 5-round special.
Mm-hmm. Never tell me the odds.
5. Oh, TVA coming down. And normally I would say this is quite good for Surfer, although Tevin's out of the gate here with an incredibly slow hand, and I don't know, even just this Iceman is a devastating blow to Tevin's chances here. We're already locked in for 2, so it's going to be a tough uphill battle right from the first game of this comeback.
Yeah, and TVA puts a timer on it right away. So who can throw down the biggest, the quickest?
That's so rough.
Yeah. Especially when you can't afford to retreat.
Yeah. If there's a line here in Tevin's spot, I think you look to play Captain Carter left, hope that Whitney Joe doesn't play there, and scare them off of that lane. And if that happens successfully, then maybe you can win one of the other 2 lanes with Juggernaut.
I was thinking the same
win
thing.
for 50-50, push the Juggernaut stuff into the other lane that's already contested. But it's a razor-thin line.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd be saving Jug for turn 4.
Same.
Yeah, so if we Carter left, scare Whitney Joe off of it, and then Juggernaut mid here, maybe there's a chance. But, I mean, we've already seen the Iceman Pixie Mobius curve. Whitney Joe is just firing on all cylinders. Tevin's
Yeah.
Tevin's with the grumpy raccoon emote.
Yeah, this is just such a tough spot to be in. I think you were right about the Juggernaut. That was really the only out, maybe on the 50-50.
So the most points you can play is Gwenpool here. If your opponent plays left, you have to play left. If your opponent plays mid, then you take it to breakers. The problem is this Pixie Mobius really means that Winnie Joe might have multiple cards or 6-drops or multiple 6-drops. Tiger hitting
Devastating.
mid. Quake. That is huge. That's going to do it. Congrats to Whitney Joe making it on to the top 4 over Tevins.
Yep.
Pretty cool showing. I really like that that Hulkling deck. It's the sort of steady evolution of what people are able to do with the Pixie Mobius combo. And I love the White Tiger inclusion. I think it's just, especially with the Wong, but even just White Tiger Cersei is quite an impressive little synergy where you get a lot of stats in one lane, you get at least 8 stats in another lane, and just a solid heads up Pixie Mobius deck building pivot. I like it a lot.
Yeah, no, that was really, really cool. I'd never even thought of the Cersei White Tiger combo. And again, the White Tiger brings me back to the early days of Snap when it's still low CL, you know. You get Wong, you get White Tiger, you get Odin, and you're like, oh, I got this. And then you just start learning your combo stuff. So
that combo's still strong today. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
That's one of the things where you run into a low CL player and you're like, oh, I got this. And then they pull out the nasty Odin combo and you're like, oh.
Yep. Sometimes you got to get humbled by a low CL player. And that's how it happens. But not very good showing. Just that last round was rough. There was not a lot Tevins could do against that, especially with the time, only having the 3 rounds to try to make it. But good showing all around.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look here to see how the Yep. So y'all, if you want to see the bracket in chat, you could type in ! bracket. I'm just going to do that right now. So all right, so it looks like, again, still number 1, Eggy with no losses. But in the top 8, we have Eggy, CK Niaz, and Whitney Joe. And then it looks like Pony Montana and Probka are at table 2. Have they finished their round yet? Okay. That's Tony. Cool. So we have our top 4.
Top 4 is locked in. And I believe we're going to throw to a break here in just a moment and come back shortly after with our top 4 gameplay. Don't go anywhere.
Before we cut to break, I just want to once again say, y'all, that this tournament we're putting this all together for charity. This is for Trans Lifeline. Again, fantastic organization, saving trans lives, saving queer people. If you have the means to donate, !Pride in chat. Whatever you're able to do, take care of yourself first, like I always say. But if you have the means, it's tax deductible. It's for a crazy, awesome organization. Do what you can. We appreciate y'all being here. Thank you for supporting the Snap community and the queer community. Hey, all, welcome back. We now have our top 4 ready to go. So it looks like we have 121 Aggie, Probka, Whitney Joe, and they had They have it as CK Nias in here, but that's what is that user?
Polka King.
Polka King.
Polka King. Thank you. So they will be our top 4. Let's go. Real quick before our next match, I want to do a quick shout out to everybody who has generously donated to our Trans Lifeline campaign. Skyboy790 with a $20 dono, Mrs. Tech God with a $100 dono, and DeCarlo220 with another $100 dono. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for doing amazing things for charity. Again, guys, if you have the means to donate, !Pride will get you the dono link. I think we're ready to get into our next match here. All right, we have Eggy versus who are they playing?
Bullseye Emperor.
Bullseye and Prague.
Yeah. They're on the bracket as Probka.
Okay. We're just gonna go with Probka.
Or Bullseye, but Bullseye running what to me looks like a pretty typical Bullseye deck. I don't know how often they run Moon Girl, but otherwise looks standard. Oh, here's TVA again, which I think is better for Eggy.
Kind of like the Moon Girl play, just so you get extra deck and shards, right? I think that's the idea.
It's cool. Yeah, backup plan for Frigga. Like, you don't hate getting extra Scorns, extra, I don't know, Morbius, Swarms. Like, it's fine. Lots of good hits. A 4/12 Hulkling. Must be like a Sasquatch, right? Or a She-Hulk.
Probka loading up. Doesn't manage to hit, though.
What? Yeah.
What a wild game.
I think it would have been a tie if it hit either on the sides. Nice early hit on Scorn.
Ooh.
That's a good Hulkling. Dr.
Hulkling
Doom, if you
Doom.
missed it. That's the kind of Hulkling that you consider playing over Heimdall for sure.
100%.
All right, and Eggy firing off the double move torch here and still going to end up on the raft. So see if Probka is able to fill this up next turn, but Eggy's definitely going to be able to. And likely with Prio. Although, it's going to be a coin flip, actually. Eggy rips a Fan Fei, so the Cosmo is not going to be relevant here anyways. All right, so huge. Eggy will take Prio this time.
Free She-Hulk's a nice prize.
Yeah, just free 10 power that you get to put down wherever you choose.
Interestingly, Eggy not opting to jam that Cosmo with Prio on a forced Avengers compound.
Probka's Raft prize coming out early, presumably for hand space. Oh, and because Probka doesn't want to revive all the Muramasa shards and stuff.
Yeah, fill the lanes up with
That
one
was a
ones.
bad prize for this discard deck.
All right, so this Hulkling actually disrupting the Heimdall combo a little bit. I'm incredibly surprised we didn't see the Cosmo last turn.
My best guess is Eggy didn't want to jam up their own plays and just trusted that they could outpower.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how they use Fanfei here.
It's going to be the same one we saw for the Nexus game. It's going to be a 32 power torch.
Yep. So adding 25 left, we're going to see a 37-point left lane and then a 36-point right lane. And I don't know that Probka has anything against this, despite looking like a solid lead at this point. No snaps this game, though. He double-checking the Fanfei activation. Can't blame them.
Doesn't look like Probka has any removals, so they should be safe left.
Didn't even need to use the Fanfei.
But let's take 16 bonus power anyways.
Yeah, why not?
Big numbers go burr. You got to do it.
Well, big numbers to 2 cubes. I'm surprised, but I guess that game was a little touch and go looking for the second there. Aggie, though, is going to extend that lead 2 cubes at a time and still charging ahead towards victory. And
Slow and
Probka down
steady.
to 5.
And I get it. Bullseye could be very scary the way that it plays.
Yeah. It is one of those decks where sometimes it feels like your opponent is playing from inside a black box where you don't really know what they have until the last turn.
Yep.
Super
Or
bursty.
how tall it will go, you know?
Mm-hmm. So unfortunately for Aggie here, this Dark Dimension kind of ruining the plans a little bit. Very difficult to set up an Aranya Madam Web combo when Dark Dimension is in the mid lane specifically, because if you play the card in the mid lane, it doesn't flip up and move, and if you move it into the mid lane, you can't Madam Web there. So Eggy a little bit stuck on the Human Torch. Will have the opportunity to move it on turn 5, or on turn 6, I should say, with the turn 5 Hellion. But this Human Torch also going to let Fanfei move into mid this turn. Or sorry, Iron Fist.
There's an Iron Fist, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, trying to get Madam Web to mid.
It's cute. And so Probka here maybe stuck committing to left lane. And Eggy looking to bail out of left lane and win extra space with that monster potentially. Or it's all a bamboozle and it's all coming back. Who could say?
Bring back the Hulks. I think Dark Dimension's bad for both of them. You know, Probka wants to set everything up before Bullseye goes off.
Hellion on the Madam Web lane is just it could be full commitment or no commitment.
It's really cool. You move Hellion out of the way too.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the Madam Web Hellion combo that they have going. Just so many ways that they can do like sneaky moves along with the Fanfei activation.
Super cool.
So we're gonna see that 32 mid again with this double move Human Torch, and then have y'all seen what the Hulkling is?
Mm-mm. Didn't catch it.
As long as it's not Destroyer, I think it's gonna be enough here.
Yep.
Potentially some perfect hits from Bullseye, completely ignoring left/mid lane and putting it all on Gamma Lab with a large card right. Maybe gets kind of close. But we're going to need near perfect hand. Like a Modok right. If I'm Probka in this situation, after seeing how these last couple turn 6s have played out for move, I'd be quite scared. All right, so the double move Human Torch. There's a Dokken left.
Hulkling just
and a Dokken
grew.
right. Oh, so that's a Gore.
That is a Gore.
Close, but not quite.
Dang.
And Eggy's going to take it. Very convincing games from Eggy.
Yeah. Iggy just so good with this list.
Just
The Gore was critical. Like,
Yeah.
I don't blame Probka at all for staying in on that one.
yeah.
Again, that's where that Hulkling value is. Just the you don't know what your opponent has.
Absolutely.
You don't know I have 54 points in right. I loved moving the monster off of Monster Island as well. It's just such a powerful play to say, hey, this lane is going to be equal, but if I move out and ignore it, I'm 10 points ahead, and that made all the difference.
And it looks like Iggy is going to keep that winning streak going. They have not lost a single match.
Barely lost a game there. Just dropping a single cube to a check snap early.
Yep. Let's take a look at the bracket here. Let's see who we have next. I believe it is. Is it Probka? No, we just did that one. It's going to be Whitney Joe versus, Polka King. So this should be exciting. And then we'll have the final match.
Rolling along here at breakneck speed. Eggy just absolutely crushing these matchups.
Yep, we'll see if there is a last-minute disruption and somebody gets that win from Eggy. But right now, it looks like Eggy is going to take it.
Yeah, not much time left for that victory to come. Just one more round standing between Eggy and a full undefeated sweep of this tournament. And I think at this point, regardless of the final outcome, I do think we'll start to see a little bit more, perhaps a lot more of this deck on ladder and elsewhere in Snap. But in the meantime, I mean, it's a beautiful thing to watch this deck piloted by Eggy so exceptionally well, just cruising through the bracket. And I mean, it's like we were talking about at the start of the day. These are cards that people haven't necessarily found a home for yet. Seen a little bit of experimentation with Fanfei and Golden Gauntlet, but very much just fringe stuff around the edges here and there. Hellion's one of those cards that a lot of people kind of talk highly of, but not necessarily putting their money where their mouth is and, playing the card a whole lot. And Hulkling also is kind of, it's a little bit out there, getting some popularity now, but to see all three of them in the same deck at once is just fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if this becomes I feel like next week we're going to see this a lot in the meta, just in general.
More respect for Fanfei for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, That's consistently like, okay, this Human Torch is below Shang levels, and we're throwing Prio, and we're ending up with 32.
So
Pretty
good.
That's a
consistently.
very, very compelling thing to be doing.
Pretty consistently too, which is really, really cool. One more shout out. We had another dono come through from the amazing Pulse Glazer or Snap Judgments. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all, if you would like to help and make a donation, if you have the means to do so, exclamation pride in the chat. Thank you for being here. It looks like we're going to get into our next game here shortly. All right, we see an early Pixie and an early Surge as well.
Polka King with the Sarah Hitmonkey deck.
Yep.
Whitney Joe with that quirky Pixie deck that's rocking White Tiger and Cersei and Wong.
Oh, and there's the Wong going to get Enchantress
What a read.
immediately.
Youch.
What a read from Polka King there.
Comes into the turn without Prio, jams Enchantress as the big points play, hits a Wong, and wins Asgard. You're going to see the full hand. Unfortunately for Polka King, Dream Dimension ruining any hopes of dropping Sarah here going into turn 6. But we have a Constellation Gwenpool. And Mobius flipping up anyway, so wouldn't have been a very functional or beneficial Sarah anyways.
Yeah, maybe Dream Dimension did them a favor.
Just going with the old Mysterio Hitmonkey, no cost reduction.
Yeah, wow.
Trying to determine where the best place to put these points is. Is Bishop more than Hitmonkey? 7?
Yep, because he got the Gwenpool buff.
He gets, yeah, okay. Does Hitmonkey not count the Mysterios independently?
No, he does.
Yep. They're each counted as a single instance.
Oh, is Hitmonkey +2?
Hitmonkey's
I
9
can't believe
then,
I don't
right?
know these. Yeah.
And no Shadow King from Whitney Joe, so interesting.
Oh, True
Great hit
Mysterio
with
in the
that.
wrong spot.
And actually, Hitmonkey mid would have won, right?
Yes, it would have. They did get very lucky with the LDS, though, from Cersei.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, Hitmonkey's +2. I'm not sure why the swap to Bishop.
Interesting. Anyways, Whitney Joe taking a early lead, 10-8. Lots of snap left to play. And a pretty unfriendly set of locations here, especially in the early game, with Murder World flipping up left and Warrior falls mid. So we're going to have a couple of do not play locations, especially for these early turns where, you know, both players kind of playing slow rolling, low power cards. And Krakoa, finally, Polka King just says, nope, get me out of here.
Yep.
Invisible Woman ruined Krakoa. Couldn't benefit from it at all.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes at that point, if you're, especially if you're prone to any kind of, you know, tilt or, you know, compounding play like that, you just say, yep, this game's not my game. It's only one cube. I'm not even going to see the next couple turns. We'll just go next. Not worry about spending any mental energy on that. Respect it.
Yep.
And so Whitney Joe, once again, exceptional in this top 8 today at playing Iceman Pixie Mobius Curve.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, jamming, although Polka King firing back with top deck Surge. Not too shabby.
Oh, and the Quake play.
It's going to be a Quake. Exposing this Surge to the Danger Room. Polka King survives.
Seem to always get the Danger Room's wrath.
All
Looks like
right, so Killmonger finding a pair of targets here. And unfortunately for Poke King, that Wong is going to flip up behind Invisible Woman. So no opportunity for a top deck Enchantress to come through here. And there it is. Gonna throw down the Sarah anyhow.
and the
Oof.
Mobius, both ongoing in the same lane, knowing that the opponent, well, I guess with the Invisible Woman, they're safe.
Yep. So gonna just jam points in a couple lanes and hope it's enough. And Poke King looking like they're going to probably take mid without much trouble. Nope.
Choosing the
I think that's a good retreat.
yeah, the retreat later option. And I agree.
Missing both Bishop and Hit Monkey, just not a good position.
Just good concede efficiency. That's
I mean, that said, you still have a 50-50 against a White Tiger. I actually didn't hate Poke King's spot there.
Would have been 2 White Tiger hits, right?
Right, but only one of them matters because the first one wins a side lane and the second one has to go to the other side lane to win the game. Because you're ahead, as Poke King, you're ahead in both side lanes and you're winning mid. So the White Tigers have to go in opposite lanes. Morph comes down for Invisible Woman. Poke King rocking double Enchantress. And I think this is a pretty safe bet. I'm curious if you play the cost reduced one anyways.
Keep your surge going.
Yeah.
yeah. The combo's very nice.
Also could have used double Enchantress to break Invisible Woman and then Wong behind it if it's there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna go for the Invisible Woman Hit Monkey, maybe.
We also gained Prio this way. And so we can't Enchantress second on 5. Oh, and here it is. Enchantress mid, gonna force those cards to flip up right away.
It's just Invisible Woman protecting Wong, right?
Yep.
Wong, Tiger, Cersei. We've seen this one before. Whitney Joe's
Nasty.
tried and true combo. All right, so that is going to be Prio over to Whitney Joe, though. If there's a line here, I think it probably involves a Shang-Chi mid.
Did the Triskelion give them the Invisible Woman?
It was a morph, yeah.
Ah,
It was
okay.
Morph, yeah. Okay, so if you play Shang-Chi, I don't think you have a way to win the side lanes, right? Well, no, you could. Shang-Chi mid, Penny Parker right is a line. He's going to go for Shadow King mid instead, which I don't know if that wins. Whitney Joe retreating
Ooh.
this time. So it looks like potentially no Cersei. And something interesting we haven't talked about that much is that Whitney Joe's deck, in the absence of Pixie Mobius, which they are quite skilled at curving out with, but in the absence of Pixie Mobius, it is very similar to a certain Pool 2 deck that is somewhat infamous among new Snap players. And there's really kind of a chunky, clunky curve without those cost-reduced cards. And, you know, sometimes that'll get you. But Whitney Joe, very, very restrained with their snaps and retreats, getting out for 1 cube there, maintaining a solid lead in the match. What do y'all think about this kiln here?
I think it's Polka Kings. Assuming we don't see too many white tiger procs.
Right.
Killmonger
Which-
the Electra out too.
I think we might see the white tiger Cersei play. Well, I guess no, they can still hit it.
You gamble on it though, right?
Yeah. But I mean, you're still putting 2 tigers down, which is 16 power, which is pretty awesome.
I think I would be putting. Ooh, I was gonna say I think I would be putting
Oh,
Cersei or Sarah in Kiln so that I could beat 1 tiger.
It's double surge. Okay, so no Mobius, at least.
But Surge being the backup plan for when you miss Pixie.
To lock down that combo.
All right, so Poke King gonna set up the Shang-Chi after Cryo. No way to turn Kiln. I wonder if this is potentially an overcommitment to left lane.
I think
Right.
so. Killmonger's taking out Electra.
That said, 12 points mid is still a lot.
Oh, but he needs the invis to play Shang because of the cryo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely the correct way to play this line. I'm just wondering if this line is enough, but it looks to line up well against what Whitney Joe's going for. Is this Shang-Chi buffed?
It doesn't look high enough to actually get hit.
I think
going
the
aggressively?
Iceman got the surge benefit.
Oh,
And 1 point's going to make up the difference here.
incredible. That double surge.
That's wild. We're playing out Wong just for a surge.
And that was another one of those. Whitney Joe's deck is just winning on small margins here and there. That was entirely a Quake flip into
The
just
Quake
a
was so
tiny
good.
surge buff. And that'll do it. I mean,
Yep.
that'll get you there if you're looking for those plays. Poke King ripping surge off the top. Do y'all know if Once in Future on Bar Sinister gets you a pile of energy at the cost of a couple draws?
I don't think so. I think they all banish themselves before
Yeah.
they can throw them back into the deck.
The on reveal banish, resolves before the location does.
But I think you still get 4 copies, no?
You would get 4 copies, but none of them would be putting anything back into the deck.
And they can't put other Once in Futures back in?
I'm pretty sure that banishes before the next one would flip. So it wouldn't have anything to send back, so you wouldn't get any energy.
Oh, because they're all face down. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Poke King once again sniping that Wong.
Hit Monkey at Bar Sinister could be pretty big, though.
Mm-hmm. Huge.
Yeah, especially with Prio here, you could hit Monkey and then Omniversal Presence it afterwards.
Right.
But it looks like
That's not the
Poke
plan.
King is willing to skip on Bar Sinister, and I don't know how I feel about this because I feel like Whitney Joe is just dipping out. It's the final 2 cubes. In any case, we're going to round 7. Gonna save the Shadow King to potentially snipe these Aunt May's points away. I think this is not a matchup where Shadow King is hugely influential against the cards in Whitney Joe's deck.
Hmm.
I like saving this.
Yeah.
So next turn you can go
Oh.
Shadow King. Oh,
The Quake value.
that's the opposite of saving. That is
Yeah.
instant death. Once
I'm over
again,
here
Whitney Joe
thinking,
finding those edges with Quake.
Yeah, Quake with tempo can be devastating.
Whitney
All
Joe
right,
just
so
drawing
Gwenpool left
perfectly.
will take the lead there. Gwenpool right will take Prio. Winnie Joe does have the opportunity to play double White Tiger here on the Wong. And if either of them go left, this could be a very, very challenging game for Poker King. It's a copycat double Killmonger.
The Pixie is.
Pixieing for the hope of one good hit.
Winnie Joe has a couple more opportunities to find just the right line, but Poker King
White Tiger
has to
could
get
still
everything. Shang-Chi, but Winnie Joe had Prio. That Shang-Chi's not going to find any value.
I think, yeah, Poker King takes this one.
Yep. Going to put Winnie Joe down to 5 cubes, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The
Poker King
casserole.
hanging on with those last 2 cubes.
Yeah. 3 more to go.
Whitney Joe just needs one of those 3 to have a great Pixie hit or a great Cersei hit.
Yeah, I feel like Whitney Joe's deck has a little bit of the Mr. Negative type of thing going on where, like, it can do okay some of the time, but when it hits the combo, it's really, really strong. And if you snap and retreat well, knowing that function, and wait for this game that Whitney Joe is on right now, that's really where you can shine, and has built enough chances to find this match.
The Iceman Pixie Mobius combo that they keep getting is impressive to me.
That's the curve. And here's Surge following up, and Mobius.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Again, they seem to find it every time.
Dark Dimension going to protect that Mobius as well.
Mobius is doing so much work.
That Dark Dimension's great for Hitmonkey, though.
Yeah, don't need to play Invisible Woman at all.
Yep.
Although I think we're going to have a Sarah this turn. Well, no, there's a Mobius. We're not going to have a Sarah at all. I guess it's Merlin Hitmonkey.
Yep.
Nicely buffed Mysterio, too. Those illusions will be 4 points each.
Yep.
Yeah, that's huge. That might be enough.
Yeah, with the Hitmonkey, I think they play Mysterio mid here.
I also wonder if there's ever an angle that's Mysterio Shang-Chi. Like if we say Mysterio mid wins against the White Tiger and Shang-Chi wins against the Cersei lane. Polymorphing for a 3-drop. It's going to be magic, but it's not active.
Going to come down to if Whitney Joe put Shang left. Oh, I guess he's good. 2 lanes to win.
Into
There's
the
a 60.
Cersei.
Corvus Glaive, decent sized 3-drop, and a Gambit, no
Ooh.
cards in hand, thanks to the Corvus Glaive.
That's so unfortunate.
Oh,
Copycat Killmonger, and the Mysterio's mid, and against all odds, Polka King winning right lane, which was effectively the dump lane.
this comeback is really, really wild. Poker King is doing a great job holding with 2.
Whitney Joe down to 3 cubes after what seemed like a really, really strong opener, but didn't quite get the White Tiger curve together.
Okay.
Pixie versus Search.
Bishop
Mobius
out
versus
early.
Bishop. Both players battling hard for Asgard here.
They want that
Although
card draw.
Whitney Joe really wants to play Wong on turn 4, which doesn't do a lot points-wise.
Oh, so they go for the Quake play, and no one's getting the Asgard benefit.
I'm surprised that Surge didn't go down right side.
Yeah, just for the card draw, right?
Yeah. All right, and Poke King setting up with the Sarah here. Destroyer Hulkling. Okay. Into Wong.
Sarah just for points.
Yep, just for the stat line.
Oh, and that Mysterio is a huge pickup.
Yep, they're going Chong mid to deal with the Hulkling.
Even just at 1 point, I think Mysterio left is super solid. Because you beat Tiger.
Yeah, because of Throne Room.
You beat a single Tiger right. And the Tiger plus Wong left is smaller than the Mysterio.
Mysterio left would have won it.
But in any case, that Shang-Chi middle is going to be enough.
Yeah, I think Polka King's got it anyway.
Wow. All right, it's coming down to this final match.
Death match.
Incredible. 2-1. This next match is going to be the final. Round 10. It's a rare feat in a tournament set.
Mm-hmm.
See if Whitney Joe has that classic Iceman opener here with Castle Blackstone. Opting not to take the location. Interesting. Polka King preferring White Hot Room. Neither of these players have any interest in Castle Blackstone's extra energy in the short term.
Also interesting seeing them play Merlin over Surge.
Yeah, that's
Couple
fair.
Merlin
Although
spells help you.
we do see Whitney Joe with that Mobius very,
Yeah.
very frequently.
Yeah.
And here it is.
Couple Merlin spells though helps you win by Hot Room. And that's worth more energy than Surge's.
Yep.
Really
Surge
good.
still will bring some power here.
Who needs energy?
And importantly, Polka King getting the White Hot Room is going to allow extra cards that are not blocked by Mobius, thanks to the +3 energy. Shadow King put back and redrawn.
Do you once in future for the extra energy? Or you've got enough, right?
And
Ooh,
Sarah,
great
once
web.
again, just
Yeah.
your stats.
I was
Great
wondering if you ever save the Omniversal Presence for Hitmonkey stats next turn.
Yeah,
Ooh, they're clogged right now.
that's big.
Yeah.
Polka King staging this comeback after throwing the "I'm losing" emote like 4 games ago. It was all a bluff.
Yeah, it's a quick snap Hitmonkey. I wonder if there is potentially. Oh no. Yep.
Yeah, Shadow King
Let's
first.
go back to the drawing board on this one. Hitmonkey needs to flip up after Shadow King if they're in the same lane. But in any case, Killmonger is going to do interesting things to right lane. And I think the plan here is to build a large Hitmonkey. Oh, we're resetting our bishop now. I don't know how I feel about this one.
Yeah, you could once in the future the illusions safely. Just for the extra Hitmonkey power.
Regardless, there is going to be a lot of points built up into Great Web, and then Killmonger is going to push the Electra out, which means Whitney Joe is going to slide an extra card over there. So I think that's why Poke King has built such a high stack and it was seemingly full lane. I'm hoping to
Yeah.
win one of the other two. And actually, the Shadow King pushes
Ooh.
Bishop underneath Shang-Chi range.
Ah, is that okay? That's what that play was. I'm like, why did they do that? Okay, that makes so much sense.
And the clog to. That was a really good final game.
Incredible.
Yep.
And Poke King
Holy moly.
What a comeback.
pulls
What
it
a
off.
comeback. Great performances by both players, Whitney Joe and Poke King. But Poke King able to hold on with just the 2 cubes and make that comeback.
That's all you need.
Yeah. That's what I love to see at high level play, you know? You need 2 cubes.
Incredible match.
So it sounds like we're about to do a quick 5-minute break. Once again, I want to shout out the charity that we were fundraising for. What this whole tournament is about, Trans Lifeline, fantastic nonprofit organization. They provide resources, peer support for trans people, saving trans lives. If you're able to donate, exclamation pride in the chat will get you that. Thank you all for being here. I can't wait to see the finale. We will be right back with more fantastic content. All right. We're down to the final match. What do y'all think? I think it could go either way.
Totally could.
It's a close one. It's going to be exciting. I think both of these players have done exceptionally well getting here. Eggy has been super, super dominant. Poke King, though, has been absolutely battling as hard as possible, has played a lot of grindy comeback matches. And I mean, that's kind of how the deck is, right? You're playing a deck that likes to sort of flip the script on turn 6, and you're bringing those games in.
And I do love an underdog, so it could be a disruptive match.
Yep.
Polka King's got a good amount of tech too to go into Eggy's deck. He's got, Shadow King, Killmonger, and also Invisible Woman to mess up Eggy's prio, trick that he's been using.
We're about to get into the match here, and speaking of grindy games, this finals is a best 2 out of 3.
Yep.
As we load on in here, we have Poke King's POV up first. We will be switching to Eggy in the second round, and then should there be a third round, we'll be back on Poke King. So this is going to be a long one. Buckle in, folks. We have some exciting games of Snap to be played here. Poke King firing up that Merlin engine right away.
Yeah. They're considering using the Shadow King early, maybe. I think you want to.
I'd love
I'm
to
not
see that. I
sure.
think the Shadow King first, if anything, but that's such an important card in this matchup that I don't know if I
Right.
played at all. You do kind of want to play 2 cards here, and I wonder if you ever fire off the Mysterio. Poly one of the clones.
But they want to save the Mysterio for last turn. That way they get the Hitmonkey value.
Oh, wow.
Rickety Bridge.
Dracula. Oh, that's a good pair for this Red Hulk in hand here.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna jam Sarah. No snaps yet. Both of these players just feeling out the matchup. I don't know if Eggy Poker King played in the Swiss portion of this tournament. That's the first time we're seeing their decks head-to-head here in the top 8.
Eggy
Making it all the way to
can't
the
fan pay
finals.
with that rickety bridge there.
Could potentially Fanfei Heimdall together on the last turn to get some extra dagger activations.
It's true.
But there's not going to be any other cards on Minilab. Oh?
Doing it this turn.
I take back the last turn comment. The help of Starbrand Crater. Poker King's going to go ahead and fire this off this turn. And interestingly, preloads that Heimdall onto Rickety Bridge to play something else large on Minilab this turn. I like this play.
I think it's looking good for Polka King.
Okay, do you ever play to beat Heimdall mid and turn off the location with Omniversal Presence?
I think it's just free value with the Mysterio clone, right?
Like, I see a Cosmo right just taking this away for Eggy.
That could be the case. Yeah, the Cosmo.
Although if you go to Breakers, I think you probably still win.
Yeah, I think left is Polka King's with that Shadow King track.
Either way, Red Hulk or Gwenpool.
Ghost Spider's the
Spider.
Heimdall
Ooh.
out. That's huge.
Impressive.
Cosmo's left. Oh my goodness, Eggy. Gonna take this game down.
Yep, that Cosmo left was the trick.
Although, I guess that Red Hulk could still potentially do something here.
Yep, 50-50.
Oh, it's Jotunheim.
And Jotunheim is they're gonna tie there.
No, that's true Mysterio.
Is that a
Poker King still takes it.
Wow.
Takes it by 1.
By a single point. RNG is on Poker King's side.
Incredible. So without the Jotunheim, that would have been a tie.
Yes.
Didn't even need to hit Red Hulk.
And Eggy down by 4 cubes. I think this is the first time I've seen Eggy behind in a match by more than maybe 1 cube on a check snack game 1.
Yep.
Firing up Aranya. These rocks, not great for Eggy, although there's a decent chance, I guess, that they'll get Killmongered here before too long. Oh, I take that back. Eggy finding a way to make the most out of a bad situation. Pumping up Dagger off of Polka King's Rock. Smartly playing Surge in the lane that's the hardest to get the Aranya value from. I'm going to go ahead and fire Bishop next. Start building these stats up. And interestingly, I mean, Shadow King is key in this matchup. Anti-synergy with Bishop, although Eggy typically going to have a hard time landing those buffed cards in the right lane at the end of the game. So I think wise play from Polka King here to set Bishop up over on Xandar.
Yep, shutting down the Madam Web early with the Enchantress.
Mm-hmm. Opting not to play the Vibranium. Do you think this is a...
Ooh,
Oh,
Protect
Cosmo
that
with the
Madam Web.
read.
Sarah for sure, right?
Yep.
so I wonder if we're going to see the dagger move here and then the Cosmo follow next turn.
Seems like a good call.
He seems to be the very tricky, technical sort of player. Opting to push Cosmo left right now as it stands.
In the
Making
fan
it
face
a
setup.
There's that signature fanfare.
makes it so much harder to read what's going to happen on Eggy's side.
All right, so Eggy is going first. We can pretty confidently say that Cosmo is going to end up on the left. Does Dagger move right and
If
then come
Fanfei
back?
goes left, Fanfei could punch Cosmo mid.
That's true.
That's what I like about Iggy's deck is there's so much. What are they going to do? And I think, yeah, Poker King is taking the bet that Cosmo is not going to stay in the left lane.
Yeah, Poker King just going like 3 layers deep here on the reads.
Trusting that right is going to stay.
Or perhaps that right is just going to get there with the bishop growing.
That's true. Even if Fanfei stays right where she is and punches Dagger over there.
And left beats left lane if nothing else changes. This is a heads-up play from Poker King.
Mm-hmm.
Although 15, if we're pushing left, or if we're pushing middle over left, it's going to be a tough one. Shadow King's about to clean up mid, though.
That
This poor
spacing
Dagger.
calculation. Oh, it's only Vibranium going over. Shadow King's going to be huge.
They tie. Wow. Poker King is going to take it. What an
2 more cubes.
upset.
And Eggy's down to 4. This is a very, very quick match, and Poker King showing that they have not only the tech to deal with Eggy's deck, but also the skill to set up these situations. Eggy's deck is notoriously difficult to line up tech cards, even if you have them. We've seen that out of several other players today. But Poker King's got the reads and able to play not just a tech card, but tech cards in multiple lanes to really say, okay, I see you, able to move these cards wherever you want them. I don't care. I'm just going to play Shadow King in one lane, Shang-Chi in the other one, and wherever you want to put your big card, I'm going to deal with it.
Yep.
And off to a very, very strong start here.
I feel like Poker King has kind of figured out the play pattern from Iggy, and they're able to make these reads.
So much momentum
definitely.
for this match.
Poker King could not resist the urge to play the Gwenpool, the large surge buffed Gwenpool, ahead of the bishop. Eggy going to go ahead and cash in that Asteroid M on Vulture right now. Always feels nice. And look at that, rewarded for the Gwenpool with a turn 4 Sarah. And I have to imagine that Poker King's going to make some good use of this Invisible Woman on Jotunheim. play a bunch of cards and protect them from that debuff on turn 5 or turn 6. Not only that, but stash away a Shadow King.
Yeah, Prio doesn't matter if you can hide it behind an Invisible Woman. It's really good tech for this matchup. Shadow King coming out early?
Poke King looks like it's going to cash in that Shadow King and reset the Vulture buff now. Which, I don't hate this line. I mean, you know your bishop's always going to end up mid, and you don't really have the multitude of tech options like we were talking about in the past few games that Polka Kings seem to be able to line up. So taking the guaranteed hit right now while you have Prio and Vulture, pretty respectable play.
Vulture only needs one move to take Throne Room, though.
Right. And, well, Prio here. Enchantress now.
The Madam Web move would happen before Enchantress.
So I'm curious here, how does Polka King beat Vulture moving right and then Heimdall? Can you beat the double move Vulture mid? Because we're looking at 5 cards plus 4 points for Mysterio is 21. Vulture plus Aranya is
6 cards.
5. And then another 12. So yeah, this does win mid if it's... Oh, Vulture's going left. Interesting. Aggie's deck is so unpredictable.
I kind of feel like both of them are.
Yeah.
They both have tons of flexibility.
Yeah.
Oh, and hopefully Aggie wasn't relying on that Aranya because it's gone. Iron Fist. Dagger. Yeah, I think that Dagger was ideally moving back onto Throne Room with the Aranya. And there is back on the Ghost Spider. Hold up. Fanfake kicking everything back onto Throne Room.
It's going to be enough for Polka King to take left. Tie left.
I think the Invisible Woman saved them. Maybe.
Yeah, but the Throne Room tiebreaker.
Yep. Aggie's to win.
Huge.
Very close. Yeah. The Dagger and Throne Room being pivotal here.
And as close as that was, I mean, if Aranya was online, that would have been an extra Ghost Spider move plus 2 point, or an extra kick with Aranya, and then another further move back mid. So we're looking at like 14 more points, maybe doubled.
Complete overkill.
This is wild. What a beautiful match.
And we get potentially 2 more, you know?
Yeah. Best 2 out of 3 here for the finals.
I think that last match was like a really clear demonstration of why Shadow King should be safe for the last turn, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
He could have won that.
I see the line about, getting it down early and protecting, your bishop and all these things. But at the end of the day, I mean, Aggie's always gaining 20 plus points of power on the last turn, it seems. And Shadow King is just a lane-winning card.
Yep. I like to think of him as the 2-cost Shadow King and the 2-cost Shang-Chi. He clears out those cards that just slowly buff or just quickly buff in this case.
Okay, so we've seen this before, Eggy pushing the monster off and winning Monster Metro in a previous round, and Polka King making a read that's going to end up potentially right, and then stashing this away behind the Invisible Woman for later. So if we do see that monster end up right lane, that could be huge. Although I will
I
say
think Cosmo's going to end up right
Cosmo
also.
might also, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Poke King does have that generated Magneto, though, from Great Portal, and I'm wondering if that's going to see potentially some play here.
Move the Cosmo. That'd be a very exciting win.
I was going to say Magneto Shadow King's also really cute to pull the Vulture and then reset it, but you would also bring the Cosmo along with it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they end up playing the Magneto here. It's just so disruptive to this deck.
Okay, and here we go again. So we have Hellion right, we have Madam Web mid, and we have potential Heimdall as well. So this is Eggy just saying, my cards are going to go anywhere I want them.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful polymorph on the Sarah. I really, really like this as a card that basically gets all of its value in the staging portion of turn 6 and then just turns into a 6-drop afterwards.
Cost
Probably
reduction.
one of the better uses of Merlin.
Yeah. Cost reduction plus the almost guaranteed stats.
All right, so we were talking about this. It's been a consistent line through Poke King's games in this matchup. We have the Shadow King left and the Shang-Chi right. So Cosmo can't be everywhere. And I do love that there's a space in each of the side lanes. Because if the 6-drop does end up being Zola, we'll end up getting the monster split.
Yep.
Okay, moving Hellion mid. Fanfare for stats. So left is the dump lane. Mockingbird.
I think Aggies takes this one.
Oh, polymorphing, but it's blocked.
The Cosmo.
Cosmo. Yep.
Read the Shang, knew there was something behind the Invisible Woman. All right,
Now
they are all tied up.
Now you introduce some mind games where it's like, oh, can I put down Invisible Woman to signal where I'm going to play tech cards, but then actually put them somewhere else?
100%. And Aggie kind of doing the mind games as well here.
So many in this matchup.
Yeah, Aggie could have fully committed to any lanes. The power to just say, I'm ignoring this lane and you don't know which one it is until our turn starts actually flipping up is incredible. All right. Burns the Iron Fist just as a body towards filling White Hot Room, but does have the Madam Web setup, so... And it's Monster Island again. Eggy seems to keep summoning this location. It looks like Poke King may be abandoning White Hot Room. And this Cosmo is just so powerful.
Yeah.
Constant Thorn in Poke King's side. And Madam Web just enables it to go wherever Eggy needs it.
And
Once that Invisible Woman flips up, Cosmo's there.
And then in this situation with the Madam Web, can get the White Hot Room to pop off and then move after the fact.
And protect your Madam Web from Enchantress in the meantime.
100%.
It's just doing everything. I wonder if you ever just fire off a Shang-Chi right now as Poke King here. But on those last 4 cubes, I can't blame a retreat. It's a spooky situation. And Eggy back up in the lead for the first time in this series. Wonder if Poker King has a line here to play just some junk behind Invisible Woman, make it the dump lane, and then just play elsewhere, because I feel like at this point, Eggy's turning this card into a liability. This is one of Poker King's most versatile, tech options to set these cards up for the post-turn 6 stage of the game. And Eggy's just exploiting this with the Cosmo reliably.
Yeah, I think you've got to turn that Invisible Woman into bait sometimes. Make them call out when you do. It's not going to be this time.
Poker King opting to hold the Gwenpool back a turn. I like this.
Yeah,
It signals that could be a 4-drop tech card behind Invisible Woman. It is a good card, but
Poker King isn't going to get the Camelot value either with the Invisible Woman.
Yeah, that's true. Only one hit going on a Mysterio here. Importantly, Eggy does have priority. So if the Killmonger taking out Camelot seems very nice. And then you can just kind of evenly play for the other 2 lanes.
Shadow King calling out Heimdall.
Opting not for the Killmonger.
I think skipping Killmonger is a mistake, especially with a 3/7.
Same.
You don't know where Aranya and Iron Fist are going to end up, and Killmonger takes care of them either way.
I think it's Killmonger or Shadow King.
I think I like the line here, though, because if Vulture ends up left, you win it. If it doesn't,
do Mysterio before Shadow King, though. Or nope, sorry, I had that exactly opposite. Shadow King first is good.
Yeah.
If there's a Heimdall, you still win mid, unless Heimdall's mid, in which case you win the side lanes. But Eggy could have a big 3, and here, investing in the Human Torch. Poker King opted not to play Killmonger.
I was going to say, yeah.
Massive Hulkling.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Killmonger left would have done it.
Hulkling She-Hulk. What a big play.
Wow.
Okay. Eggy taking the first round.
Able to make it cubes. The comeback. Started at a disadvantage, came back to get it all.
That was 10-4 to 4-0, right?
Yes.
Wow. So Eggy just got the matchup experience, learned the play patterns on the fly.
Downloaded Poker King.
And Poker King. It's all set up. And Eggy just turned it on, and here we are. So Eggy remains undefeated and is up 1-0 in this best of 3, and only has to win one of the next 2 to go on and take the entire tournament.
A strong position.
Incredible showing. So what have y'all noticed that Poker King needs to work on to take down a match against Eggy in these next games?
Honestly, it's the reads, but the reads are so hard against Eggy. You don't know what they're gonna do. Like in that situation, Killmonger was the play, but how did you know? I think they thought they were gonna Heimdall there, which could have also been the case.
Yeah,
I'd really like to see some more Invisible Woman mix-ups. Like I've been talking about, like it just they. So far, Eggy has put a Cosmo there every single time. Like, learn that lesson.
Yep, don't commit to that.
Like part of the struggle, though, with that is Poke King doesn't really have cards to play behind the Invisible Woman that do well into Cosmo. I mean,
and
your
it has
best
to be
bet
a
is like
prone lane.
Enchantress, maybe, as a 4/6, but like all of these cards are like either early game scalers or things that generate other cards, or like tech cards of some variety that all want some sort of on reveal. And I feel like the strength of Eggy's deck, a lot of it comes from these mid-range Fanfei and Hellion stat plays that are like synergistic pieces that also have high base stats, whereas Poke King doesn't really have anything like that. And I feel like that's making a lot of the difference in the inability to play anything substantial behind Invisible Woman that doesn't just get blown out to Cosmo.
Right.
It's an interesting match.
What do you put behind the Invisible Woman to fake something out is the thing, you know? Like,
Well, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You can do it. You can do it once, right? And you make
Yeah.
that matter with a snap. You take the big cubes, and after that, Eggy's expecting it, and it becomes a like 50-50.
But like, even if you want to pull that off conceptually, you say, okay, I'm setting out to play, I'm going to play Invisible Woman, I'm going to set something up behind it that's a bait. Like, just mechanically doing that and still winning the game is like, you play Enchantress on 4 maybe, and you have like a 9 power lane that maybe beats Cosmo on stats, but if there's any, like, Eggy's always got a move card parked there.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's like, you put a 2-drop back there and bluff, but then you're spending your, turn 3 or turn 4 or whatever it is, bluffing a 2-drop behind Invisible Woman, and Eggy's played other things elsewhere. It's tough.
Maybe some Merlin spells can serve as bait.
Mm-hmm.
that's an option.
All right.
I
We're
do want to.
rolling into game 2 here.
All right.
Over on Eggy's POV, Emperor Hulkling the Khonshu. Oh. What do y'all think about this Fanfei Stark Tower situation we find ourselves in?
That's excellent, right? You know, move all that bonus power off if you want to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Who could say? Only
it's such
Eggy.
a threat. Typhoid Mary hurts. I guess
Enchantress.
Poke King can Enchantress it, yeah.
Yeah. The Merlin also offers opportunities for Poke King.
Surprised we're not seeing this Widow's Bite on Stark Tower. I think we're about to.
Good call.
All right, so no Captain America value here.
And like I said,
Ooh.
the Merlin, once again.
Why is Shadow King coming out already?
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure about that. Why waste the Shadow King there?
It's one of the most impactful cards in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Although Eggy doesn't have Cosmo just yet, and that's been key to most of these games so far. But I have a feeling that without Shadow King, Eggy can probably play around just a Shang-Chi.
It's going to hurt Poke King later, just not having that Shadow King.
Yeah.
But especially with the turn 7.
Interesting to see how Eggy's timeline shifts with the extra turn. I feel like Poke King's game plan stays fairly similar. You just delay a turn. But Eggy's timeline changes a lot with the extra turn. You can play a chunky card on 6 that you otherwise would just not have time for.
They're the Enchantresses for the Typhoid Mary.
Also sending Shadow King back into the deck just to add that like little level of doubt. Maybe Poke King did top deck Shadow King.
All right, so still no Cosmo, even with the extra limbo turn. Eggy bottom to the Cosmo, and Poke King, there's a chance. Line up a tech card. We get to watch Eggy work in real time here. Iron Fist, activate Aranya. Vulture moves left, Vulture moves middle.
Aranya kind of doing everything Fanfei would have done. I guess lets you choose to move only one card instead of all of them.
I think we're maybe looking at a dagger move left and a re-rack of the Vulture onto left lane? No? Ignoring left.
The level of thought that Eggy puts into this is, I could never. I could
Poke
never.
King could never this game.
You have to use
Dipping
the
up for
entire
one.
turn timer.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, Eggy is actively doing things, taking actions, thinking through various lines the entire time. Hulkling is just Magneto. No stats were exchanged in the making of this card. Big House. You know, normally I would say Big House is kind of like a impactful card for one of the decks. Neither of these players, I think, care that much about Big House this game. Does impact slightly Eggy's ability to play Fanfei, I would say, is probably the biggest deal. Oh, TVA.
Another
Yeah.
TVA.
Fanfei or
Wow.
Hellion.
Holding on to Torch for next turn.
Interesting that the Ghost Spider is coming down now. Just, yeah, gonna pull Dagger and Poke King played there. Oh, Poke King played everywhere.
Mysterio is a great TVA card.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Yeah, you don't know where. Poke
Kind of
King's doing
surprised
mind
Eggy.
games this game.
Kind of surprised Eggy didn't go for Raft. Could have played Torch and Aranya both left. Big old Vulture. Tie Mysterio right.
All right, so we're tying or beating Mysterio on every lane as Eggy, and then saying, there's no way you beat me on breakers here. I think the only thing that would have maybe been a saving grace is like a Killmonger plus a card. If you can get over the top in one of the two lanes, and then wipe out the one drops, but
Or if they had Merlined and somehow got Omniversal Presence to get rid of the location. But
no Merlin though, right? That
yeah,
game?
they did not play Merlin.
Commertage. See if there's a surge here out of Poke King.
Yeah, Camertage is a lot better for Poke King with Surge and Hitmonkey and Gwenpool.
Yep. But that also gives Egg the opportunity to move the Cosmo there. And maybe they Ghost Spider here.
Poke King snap there?
I believe so.
Interesting.
Yeah, seeing rings for Eggy.
Okay.
That's
I
a
understand.
good thing to snap
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I too would snap on a double
Presumably
Gwenpool turn
Mysterio's
4.
in hand.
All right, so here comes the Hellion.
Strong position for Poke
Oh,
King.
Iron Fist is massive. I think you put it all left, then you push it middle.
Oh, you could do a 16 power torch with just Iron Fist and Fanfei.
It's gonna move does that move the Cosmo Dagger mid?
You gotta play Iron Fist before you activate Fanfei.
Yeah.
Dagger gets 2 plays, 2 moves.
Yeah. All left. Iron Fist mid. Activate Fanfei. Human Torch slides across the entire board. Now Eggy's thinking, do I want to actually let it go and bring it back with Ghost Spider? But it only moves once. I gotta do it again.
You could
Re-rack the board.
If you
All
put
left.
enough cards mid, you can block Cosmo from going right.
Ghost Spider the Hellion. Eggy is 5 layers deep in the tank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Fire it all off. Ghost Spider first. Pull the Hellion right. Then Iron Fist. Fanfei. Everything middle.
Fanfei's
No,
gonna
but
block
middle's
Torch
full.
from moving.
This Human Torch is going to be full. And
Torch
I
can't
think...
move.
I don't know if this is going to be enough now. It's just going to be Fanfei left. Oh, no. Because we pulled the Hellion out.
Oh,
Eggy is one step
gosh,
ahead.
the brain.
Thinking 12 levels deep here.
We're watching this in real time and struggling to keep up with Eggy's
Just
thought
trying
process.
to understand it. Yeah. And still gets
Incredible.
the Cosmo mid. Wow.
Oh, but the Hitmonkey, even without the buff, is still large enough. Thanks to Gwenpool.
Gwenpool. Yep.
That's big.
Wow. I still think just the thought process there from Aggie, incredible.
Yeah. I think that's the largest Cosmode Hitmonkey I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's big by normal Hitmonkey standards.
Yeah.
Gwenpool's like, it's all going here.
Asgard besieged. Cool. The hub's like, hey, Aggie, your opponent's been surging you on 2 a lot. You want some of that? Aggie's like, yep, I'll take it.
We'll take some cost reduction and a little bit of buff.
And, you know, it's going to be hard to beat.
Yep, playing for that lane.
Aggie going up to 10. Winning the Destroyer.
Well, it's a Shang target.
Yeah.
Now,
Definitely unfortunate to lose that location, though.
yeah, you have to use the Shang. So getting it out of the way early is awesome.
So if you only have the Shang, I guess you fire it off now. But if you have something else, I think Shang plus any card wins left late. Oh, and Hulkling bricks with the Infinite.
Hulkling's hit the Infinite a couple of times.
It's been like 3 or 4. And
Yeah.
that ends the surge run for Eggy.
All right, so Poke King fires down the Sarah. And we have the Cosmo Mind Games, although in this case, Eggy has the additional support of Nowhere.
Yep.
Firing up a Snap. And And it looks like Eggy has not activated Aranya.
Just putting it all left and mid.
Just once the stack. Although I think Aranya on Heimdall is just 2 free points, no? Because mid will be full. And Heimdall will be unable to move.
Yep.
I don't know if
Yeah, I
there's
think
any
you're right.
cards that make the difference there.
It could potentially
Yeah, the
Shadow King
unreveal
left.
goes before.
Yep.
There it is. Shadow King left. Still enough. Polymorph gets blocked by Cosmo.
They'll do it.
Bro.
That'll do it.
Eggy taking the 4 cubes right back.
And if Poke King didn't Shang early, the Cosmo, I mean, actually that lane was bricked. I think saving Shang might have been important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. The downside though is if you don't do that lane early enough, you need to play other cards in the other 2 lanes, and potentially you're looking at a situation where there's a Cosmo in one lane, and the location stops you from playing on reveals in the other lane. And Poke King, if you're only winning that one filled lane with a Shang-Chi late game, very, very hard to set up points in the other 2 lanes, compared to Eggy's deck, which is much more flexible in terms of, just setting up points through moves, through activates, through just playing bodies.
I was also thinking Poke King might have top decked Sarah on 5. Like if you don't have Sarah in hand, maybe the early Shang makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have another solid 4, I think that's the only thing to do. Poke King with turn 2 Surge, Eggy opting not to play anything. I think wanting to set up this Iron Fist before Dagger.
In the free move with Aunt May.
Gonna go ahead and fire this Vulture off. Maybe win Asgard? And win Asgard. And I think you set up the Cosmo here.
To block the Shang. Or Shadow King.
Maybe preload an Iron Fist next turn, although if you're pretty confident you're going to Hellion, you maybe just hold it. Regardless, Eggy's going to have essentially the whole deck here.
Yep.
Cosmo's been doing so much work. Not that it mattered in this specific case, but
I think Cosmo's definitely been MVP for Eggy in terms of just winning a lane.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
I gotta learn from that. It's a card I normally avoid because I'm just like, if it doesn't matter in the matchup, that 3/3 just feels so bad.
Oh.
That's a good Hulkling.
It's a leader.
Throw Prio and steal that monkey. Oh, it's the final turn. No Prio to be thrown.
Some interesting options here. You can move it all mid and hope that the Hulkling's enough. Can move it partially mid and hope that Heimdall's enough.
I think they're just putting it all on Vulture mid.
Wow.
It's a big Vulture.
Cosmo to protect Heimdall.
I feel like Eggy's kind of had a slow enough game that the number of options available here is much lower than usual. Part of the complexity of these final turns is built up by
the perfect call.
Oh my.
Holy moly.
Split down the middle, but I don't know if it's going to be enough here to win mid with just this Vulture.
Merlin.
Oh,
nah. Not.
Dang.
Takes it. Wow, Poke King
getting 4 in.
All right, it's coming down to the wire here.
2-4.
Incredible set. So had Cosmo stayed mid, Shang-Chi would have won left. I think Poke King just played enough cards and developed the Sarah to find that option. We were talking about this last set where you need to generate enough options to overcome the Cosmo, and Poke King relying on Eggy's slow start to really get the flexibility to win every lane, essentially. Wherever the Cosmo isn't, Poke King's going to win.
The collapsing mine hurts Egg. Does it hurt Eggy more?
Yeah, not being able to develop anything.
Yeah.
Depends if Poke King had that surge.
It's true.
If you skip the surge for that, you're pretty sad, but I don't know that Eggy was too excited to play Dagger there on
Asteroid
turn
M is
2 anyway,
big.
so yeah, huge.
Juggling.
Nothing.
Wow.
Is that Hulkling and Infinite? What's going on here?
I think it might
Surprised
be
we didn't see-
Sasquatch.
Yeah. I'm surprised we didn't see the Iron Fist Human Torch Madam Web setup last turn.
I'm surprised they didn't play anything.
Yeah.
Trying to set up that Sasquatch? Just be
Yeah, it could be.
unpredictable.
Get as cheap Emperor Hulkling as possible. That very well could be the case.
Iron Fist take, put Hulkling left. Early Shadow King again.
Yeah, I like this a lot, actually. So one card moves mid, then Heimdall plays onto Asteroid M. The card that was mid moves left, hopefully wins the vault, and then Heimdall, along with everything on Asteroid M that's left, moves to middle, and we just completely dip out of Asteroid M. So going from having cards only in Asteroid M to having cards everywhere but Asteroid M. Oh, and Eggy deciding needs the Heimdall left. Hoping that Poke King can't win mid with those points.
Yeah, I think Polka King is going to probably put Hitmonkey behind the Invisible Woman. That's why he needs that
Oh, it's
little
just
extra.
Mysterio.
I don't think that's big enough.
Heimdall's going to move over. So the question is, was that the real Mysterio in mid? Oh no, it's not enough either way.
Read the Hitmonkey.
Wow.
Coming down to the final two. What a match.
Yeah, down to another death match.
Great read by Eggy.
The ability that Eggy has to just put the points seemingly
need to go.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Nice to know
All
you're
right, Weird
safe from
World.
Shadow King.
Yeah, stealing a tech option away. Poke King got Aranya. Now we have to live in wonder. Did Poke King potentially get the Cosmo from Eggy? Going for a Merlin. Nice to help her fill your hand with a spell. Although, yeah. Yeah, one spell here and another at next turn after the shuffle.
Hey, it wasn't Infinite. We'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like losing the Shadow King. Definitely one less tool in your kit.
Polka King hasn't been winning with Shadow King anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, one less threat for Eggy to worry about.
Delay on the Madam Web, thanks to the Lemuria turn, really going to do a number on Eggy's points output this game. Poco King making great use of this Aranya, tossing down a Vulture and getting to 10.
Answers the Cosmo question.
Yeah. Eggy would still need to draw it, though. I have to feel like this is a fanfare Human Torch, but if I've learned anything, it's that Eggy's always just jamming Hellion.
Hellion just gives you so many options.
It's another move for Dagger.
There's the Cosmo, but I have a feeling it might be too late to see play this turn. Because you play Cosmo, you're only playing Human Torch alongside. And maybe there's enough points on the board, but I don't see it.
Dagger not being on web means there's, well, I guess there's Heimdall. So 2 options for Dagger.
Yep. Dagger at this point is, I mean, Hellion is just stats, which sometimes can be enough, you know?
Gambling that Poker King doesn't put anything right. Lose that gamble. It's gonna be Poker Kings.
Yep.
Oh, but Hellion comes in. I'm so bad at reading these moves. Oh,
incredible!
What an incredible match!
Phenomenal.
And Eggy taking it down with 2 cubes left. Big wins with just narrow razor's edge margins here in these last 2 rounds, but manages to go undefeated.
Not a single loss during the entire tournament.
Through the entire Swiss and through all of day 2, running down the top 8 bracket. Congrats to Eggy. Absolutely incredible showing. Fantastic deck. Stellar play.
Gameplay. Just, I can't even... Half the time I didn't know what they were going to do. Because... like, we were guessing what their plan was, and they were already, like, 2 levels ahead of us.
Even watching Eggy's POV making the plays, it's still hard to parse through what's going to happen during the turn.
Yes. And it's just
it's impossible.
It's a unique deck, too. Like, I haven't seen this list before.
Yeah, loving that fanfare. It's impossible to follow the move player when you're also watching the other player, right? Like,
yeah, no, being on Poker King's perspective and predicting what Eggy was doing was impossible. Being on Eggy's perspective and predicting what Eggy was doing was hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good.
But I wanted to do a shout out for some more people who donated. Big shout out. I'm going to just refresh, make sure no new ones came through. But come on, Tiltify. Big shout out to Ties for donating, Summer Dust 353 and Snap Variants. Thank y'all for donating to Trans Lifeline. Y'all are awesome. This was so much fun.
It was a really good tournament.
Absolutely. Fantastic games.
Yep.
A lot of cool decks in the top 8.
Yep. Have we done all the giveaways and whatnot? Cool. Awesome. Thank you all for tuning in and supporting the stream, the community, all of that. This was super fun. We'd love to do it again next year. Another one of these, make it a more common thing. But thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all around.
We should do one last shout out for Trans Lifeline, I think, before we go. Little last
Absolutely.
dono call. Trans Lifeline is a 501c3 organization. They are a charity phone service hotline for trans people by trans people. They're the only independently funded phone crisis hotline. And all of the operators, because of this independent funding, are able to operate according to the ideals of the Trans Lifeline service. Because they don't take any government funding, they don't have to call the cops on callers. They are able to make choices to run the hotline in a way that is aligned with the values of the trans community. Super cool service, really great opportunity to support them if you are able. It's a great place to throw some money, especially in the current political climate. It's a very much needed service. So if you're able to do that, one last shout out to Trans Lifeline, and get the dono link in chat. Thank you all so much for your support so far. It's been fantastic.
Yep. Exclamation pride for that dono link. Again, if you have the means, you're saving lives. But yeah, let's plug. Let's go from right to left. Teebs, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Teebs. I am a Marvel Snapcaster. I also stream. I'm in school full time, so I stream just a couple days a week, Tuesday afternoons and Friday afternoons Pacific time. I'm on twitch.tv/Teebs, and I'm on Blue Sky at Teebs Gaming.
I'm Lauren Whatevs. I intermittently do articles on SnapZone and on Twitter. Post cool clips and stuff like that. You can follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky at Lauren Whatevs. And I also have a weekly podcast, Snap on This. We do a fun secret challenge every week.
Awesome. And I'm Gregor. You can find me pretty much everywhere. Gregor2424. I think the only place that's different is on X, where it's Gregor_2424. Marvel Snap creator, PWROn Gaming member. Just I love the community and y'all. I regularly stream Mondays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So if you want to tune in, I'll be streaming later tonight as well. Thank y'all for tuning in, and if you want to follow, it's appreciated. Thank y'all for tuning in and joining me. This has been so much fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting us. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. All right.